So this is a video how to perform a leak of injector test in 1.6 HDI engine. So if you really want to know if your injectors are working, well, it's not entirely conclusive test, but it's will show you something it's out of the ordinary. So if you really want to see how you can test your injector test with a simple leak of test, stay tuned. So my car is a Peugeot Partner 1.6 HDI 90 brake horsepower. So in order to test, to perform this leak of test, you need, of course, to remove that, you need really some sort of a kit. So I bought this. So this is really, let me open it. So everything is in the description of the video. You can get those. So it's basically, it's fairly simple. So this is for 6 cylinders, while my car is 4 cylinders. So basically, these just plug on top of the injectors. You let it tick over until it fills these tubes. It's not very complicated. It's fairly cheap kit that one can buy. What else is in the kit? I mean, these are a few bits and pieces for different engines. So this is actually fairly useful. So basically, once you, in order not to let air coming, so you can plug with this. You can plug in the injectors, the leak off pipe. So that's fairly useful. I mean, it's not, the purpose is not for this. This is to plug into different injectors, but will do for this purpose. So the car needs to be really warm in operating temperature in order to do that. So I've let it run, had a test drive for about half hour to get it warm. So basically we need to unplug these 4 plugs on the injectors, plug in the other ones, let it tick over, see how much is gathered. So first thing is really to remove the injector plugs. So to remove the injectors, the 3 are the same, exactly the same, and one is slightly different. So basically you need to just slightly leverage here and pull. Well, when I say leverage, it's a bit. There we go. So basically lift from that side and basically pull, because they're kind of in the way. So the next one, same thing, leverage and pull. And the 4th one is just basically you push it on that side and it kind of releases, and then you can take it out. So basically you squeeze here so it gets over, and then you release, because we have to take those pipes off. Next thing is to release this clamp that holds the leak off pipe. So it's basically just pull it out. And be careful not to really lose it anywhere. There we go. It's just basically pulling it out. You have to be rather careful to put it somewhere where you wouldn't lose it. So I've just stuffed quite a bit of tissue around, because there is probably still a little bit diesel inside of these leak-off pipes. So I haven't really taken those, so I'll take these off as well. So basically pull it. So next thing is to really remove those. So they clipped. Down here and down there. So it has to be rather. One has to be rather careful with wiggling those out, because they break at here at this particular point. So it breaks either here or there, most likely there as well. So one has to kind of wiggle only slightly and pull it out. And I'm really prepared. I have bought. I mean, it's in the description of the video as well. So this is a leak-off pipe, kind of original leak-off pipe. So it really goes like that down here. So it really looks like that. So the clipping thing goes on here, goes like that. And this is a seal on O-ring, and they really break around there. So just to wiggle one of these out, I have to be rather careful not to really break it. How it looks like, this is how it's inside. So they really break at this particular point there. So one have to be rather careful pulling it in and out, not to kind of break it. So next thing is to really wiggle this out. So fairly, there we go. There is a bit of diesel, wasn't too bad. So we'll unclip it from here, and then next onto the next one. I'll mop it up later. Onto the next one, same thing. Really just wiggle and pull. There we go. Wasn't actually too bad. Third one, same thing. Wiggle and slightly pull. There we go. And the fourth one, same thing. Wiggle and slightly pull. So next thing is to really, so this is the leak-off pipe, so to undo that one and plug it in, so with this from the kit, so in order any air to come in. So this is really the problem here. I mean, you have to wiggle this out, but problem is to really be careful not to break it, and that's always a bit of a problem. Just have to really careful, but here we go. Took it out without breaking, which is actually quite a success. And then we'll plug this in actually with this clip, so it doesn't really it doesn't go back in. So we'll put this away, inspect the seals if they are okay. They seem pretty good. This is really from the kit, the plastic bottle. So this is the end cap that was supplied. So, but if you really put this in, it doesn't really go that far. It's kind of stopped. The diameter is too large. But it's applied. So this is 01 from the kit. Basically, pull that one and put a new one, and that's actually pretty perfect. So basically, you put it in like that, and then it's with the clamp to hold it in place. So put it in, and then with the clamp. So I'll replace those with these number ones. I'm only gonna film the first one. It's just easier. Cannot quite see actually in front of the camera. there we go, that should be fully in, and then just testing that it doesn't move at all. Basically this is how it should look like from the top. Maybe can be seen, maybe can't be seen, but there is kind of hooking in there. And this is how it finally looks at the end. So these are the 4. I removed 2 because my car is 4-cylinder, so I don't really need it, just to balance it. So this is hooked on a string up at the bonnet. So this really goes, and they hook up to the injectors like that with a clamp, and really just to make sure that these are not gonna leak. And this is it. Next thing is to, of course, put in the injectors, the electrical component, and then of course start the car and see this leak-off test. So basically the test will be just running the car on idle, no RPMs, nothing, just an idle until these fill up to the middle, and kind of compare them afterwards. There is no, I mean, there is a certain point, well, there is a certain measurement how much they should leak off, but I don't really know that measurement. Some say 25 milliliters per minute and so on, but it's easy to see. I'll explain later what this shows, and it's not entirely accurate and it's not entirely conclusive, but it will give you a kind of idea how good the different injectors are compared to each other. Of course, wants to check for leaks and so on, but nothing's leaking, and you can see the diesel started to climb, and as far as I can see, they climb about the same. So we'll leave this until it fills up to half. So this is really the, I waited till this is, what is this, 6.5, almost 7. So they're fairly the same. Well, the thing is that they're fairly the same. One isn't really down there and one is up there. So there is what is actually the variance. So injector 2, so I think that's injector 2. So injector 2 is slightly more blocked than the others. So the others are, well, let's see, the first one is 5. The others are 5.5, and the other one is 5. So all these 3 are 5. So injector 4, injector 3, and injector 1 are pretty much the same, roughly about 5. I don't know what this is, 50 milliliters probably. This one is slightly more, about 7ish, well, probably 70 milliliters. But overall, this is not really that much excessive. This is slightly blocked, only a tiny bit. So I can probably put some injector cleaner in the fuel and potentially unblock it, but it's not entirely conclusive. So what you're looking for, if one is not really one is really filling up quite a bit more, if this was filling up to there and these were up to here, so this was would be leaking, would be blocked too much. So in other words, the injector is blocked and it's just returning most of the fuel. So that's what you're looking, if one is really filling. If one is not filling up at all, so it's just leaking too much fuel inside of the cylinder. So basically you're looking the variation across these 4. So this for these injectors, I know they're pretty good because I've looked at the correction values in PP 2000 diagbox. So I know really that they're not excessively the ECU is not excessively correcting for overfueling or underfueling, so I know they're really good. So this is, but one might want to do this 3 times just to make sure that these are quite accurate. So you're looking really if one is extremely high and the others are very low down there. So now it's what I have to do. I have to remove the pipes and then plug in, return the leak-off pipes. Next thing is to really return back everything together. So unplugging the injector plugs. Next is of course to stuff it with quite a bit of tissue around the injectors, otherwise these lines are actually full of diesel, so when unplugging those they will leak a bit. I don't really want diesel everywhere around. So I've stuffed around the injectors everywhere in the hose a lot of tissue. Next thing is, and I have some tissue in my hand, next thing is to really undo these clips, same clip as before, and of course lift these, and it will probably a bit of diesel, so I'll try to do it fairly quick. And there was a bit of spillage, it's not too bad, and now really hold it up high, this hole, so it will kind of leak back. Next thing is really with the tissue to really dry all around. Well, don't need to, but it's a good practice. And be careful with any dropping anything in the injectors, in the hose. Of course, to inspect the hose, if anything is stuck in there with the flashlight, everything seems okay. Next thing is to install the return the leak-off pipe, and I'll start from that side. Of course, need to remove all the tissue, and I'll start from that side. Just basically unplug. That was for to prevent fuel going back, and then plugging in the pipe. This basically should be fairly simple, and then we can start off with plugging those in. They basically click in, slightly spraying some fuel here and there. There we go, they've clicked in. Now we have to put in the clips. Next thing, of course, mop up a bit around all the injectors, because when you push it, it kind of sprays a bit. So this is slightly broken on top, but that's all right. I mean, there's nowhere to go to mop if there is any leak. So you would notice if there is any leak. I guess to plug in the injectors. And of course start the car and check for leaks, but that's the leak-off test. So I still have a bit of diesel here and there, and it has spilled a bit. Yeah, a bit there. I'll mop that. So that's the leak-off test. So basically it's not entirely conclusive, but it's kind of the difference between how much diesel leaks off the different injectors. So if one is really pushing a lot of diesel out as compared to the others, then you are kind of certain that this one is partially blocked or completely blocked. So if one is not really pushing at all diesel back, so it means that this injector is likely to just push too much fuel inside the cylinders compared to the others. So that's the injector leak-off test. So now I'll, of course, check if there is any leakage and reseat the pipe if there is anything. But well, that's it. Hopefully that's useful to someone. Subscribe. Let me know any comments in the comment section. Thank you.